I'm Grant Boone. It's not even Thanksgiving, and we're already going back for seconds. A second-half rally sends ACU into the second round of the playoffs and a second date with Northwest Missouri State. We'll look ahead to that game today, and we'll preview a very special reunion that's bringing one family home for the holidays. It's the Chris Thomsen Show, next. Welcome to the Chris Thomsen Show. Grant Boone with ACU head coach Chris Thomsen. Kimberly Prather, our usual co-host, is on assignment up in Maryville today for the big game against Northwest Missouri State. Coach, you rally last week in the second half late, final 17 minutes. You're down 7. You turned that around and beat Midwestern State 24-21 in the first round of the playoffs, avenging that 15-13 loss in the regular season finale. What was the difference in game number 2 against Midwestern?
Really, probably the fact that we made a play in the kicking game. You know, Dennis Campbell's opening kickoff return really gave us a spark, really gave us our only points in the first half. But then offense seemed to really come alive in the second half. The offensive line did a great job of protection. And, you know, we got a couple of touchdown passes, which we haven't had recently. So, and then another great performance, especially from our front 7 with pressure on the quarterback. Those were the main things. 8
sacks on Zach Eskridge of Midwestern State. And for all of that hard work, winning on the road, your reward, you get to stay on the road and go play the number 2 team in the nation, a team you beat earlier this year, and the team that knocked you out of the playoffs last year, Northwest Missouri State. I know what you think about that team, and they have done again this year what we kind of figured they would, right?
Yeah, typically, I mean, that's been their pattern, struggle in the first game and then just get better and better and better and go throughout the season undefeated. And there's a reason why they're the team to beat in the region. They do a great job. They prepare well, and they continue to improve each week. And we're looking forward to the opportunity to go play.
ACU and Northwest Missouri State today. But first, when we come back, we'll look at the highlights from last Saturday's first-round playoff game against the Midwestern State Mustangs up in Wichita Falls. You're watching the Chris Thomsen Show. Welcome back to the Chris Thomsen Show as we prepare to look at highlights of ACU's first-round playoff game against Midwestern State. Coach, you said before last week that the team really felt like, and maybe even you felt like, that it had been given a second chance. Tell us about the mindset going into that game last Saturday.
Well, I think it's such a difficult situation for Midwestern, but for us it was just new life. I mean, getting a chance to look at the film and clean up some things that we didn't do well in game 1. You just rarely get that opportunity, and we were able to take advantage of that.
It could have scarcely begun better than the way it did. Let's look at the highlights. Opening kickoff, watch Dennis Campbell. We've seen how talented he can be in the passing game, hooking up with Mitchell Gale. Here, I don't think he was touched. 97 yards on the kickoff return, the first opening kickoff return for ACU in 7 years.
Well, the thing that was so significant about that is Midwestern's kick coverage is always revered as one of the very best in the country, not just the conference. And we just got tremendous blocking. Derek Odelusi, Nate Baggs, AJ, Arthur Johnson. Some of those guys picked up. You can see Derek right here, watch him pin his guy on the ground. Gets his guy on the ground. And Dennis, although he was untouched, did make some really good moves. I mean, he beat the kicker. Beat a couple other guys. You see Derek getting really excited right there, but that was a tremendous play.
All right, opening possession after ACU takes that 7-0 lead. This would be a bit of foreshadowing as well. Watch Aston Whiteside strip Zach Eskridge, and though Midwestern fumbled, this would kind of give the Mustangs and Wildcats and their fans an idea of what was to come.
Yeah, we worked this, you know, to see things that come in, that really happen in the game that you work in practice. The strip drill. Coach Johns and the defensive staff worked that all the time. You could see it pay off right there.
Whiteside, great play. Midwestern recovered. They had to punt. And then on ACU's first offensive drive of the game, remember they scored on that opening kickoff for them. This is the first offensive series. We're going to see Mitchell Gale 2nd and 5 at his own 36-yard line. Watch him hook up with Dennis Campbell for 14 yards, and this takes it to the midfield stripe.
Yeah, you see great protection. Mitchell's got plenty of time, and that was a huge play right there just to get us going, get a little momentum early in the game.
Then on 3rd down and 7 from the 32-yard line of Midwestern, Matt Ellerbrock, for the second straight week, gets Mitchell, and really that was a huge play because it takes you out of points.
Yeah, it was really the same play as last week where we ended up getting an intentional grounding penalty. And if we were incomplete there, I was about to kick the field goal. Morgan, it had been about a 50-yard attempt, which we know we can hit, and took us out of field goal range. Bad play.
All right, well, ACU returns the favor, and Eskridge gets a face full of Kevin Washington right here. What a job the transfer from Notre Dame has done, especially the last, say, 6-8 games of the season.
Yeah, he's done a great job. That's one of the things we cleaned up a little bit from the week before, just our blitz package, a little bit tighter and a little bit more efficient. You see Kevin make a play.
Still 7-0 now, second quarter. After 5 consecutive 3-and-outs from both teams, watch Eskridge get around the right side and beat you with his legs for the second straight week.
Yeah, that's a tough thing about Zach. Great passer, but the ability to run, and it's hard to defend both sometimes.
6 rushes for 80 yards in the first game, 9 for 71 in this game. After the extra point, it was 7-7. That was a 10-play drive for Midwestern State after ACU went 3-and-out for a 4th consecutive offensive possession. It's Eskridge on that little option read going up the middle to make it 14-7.
Yeah, you can see Zach there again. He just, not only can he run, he's just so big.
Yeah,
I mean, we've got a couple of guys there, but he just breaks some arm tackles and scores. Tough to defend.
All right, so ACU was on the field, Coach. Your defense, 19 of 22 plays. I mean, they've played great all year, but that's a little bit too much to ask.
Yeah, it was, and it was hot that day. And, you get concerned that at some point, if at some point in the second half you don't get something going on offense, you're going to have problems.
You said in the halftime locker room, and Brandon Stover on the sidelines on our radio broadcast reported it, you took the blame for some of the offensive struggles in the first half. Tell me about that.
Well, just, we were backed up a lot in the first half and being a little bit too conservative maybe, just not wanting a turnover on your own end. So I just told the guys, it's on me. Just go out there and play in the second half. We'll get better field position. It's not as bad as it seems. And Midwestern was walking up the ramp at the half talking about going to Missouri. I said, for those guys, it seems real good right now. Just we're going to open it up a little bit, and we did. Well,
it didn't get better immediately in the second half, but watch 3rd and 11 from the ACU 34-yard line. This is going to be Eskridge again getting sacked, and again it's Kevin Washington.
Yeah, Zach right there just trying to we flushed him out at the middle of the pocket. He tried to roll out, and Kevin made a great play.
And then 2nd down and 17 after on this series, Midwestern punted, and ACU went 3-and-out again. Eskridge would get sacked by Courtney Lane, and on 2nd and 17, watch him here in traffic, flushed out to his left. He's going to throw it up, and Major Colbert's going to come down with it. Huge play. Not an easy catch.
That was one of the biggest plays of the game, and Major just showed his size right there. He's a big safety, and really the ball was for him or the receiver. He just went up and took it, and an excellent play.
All right, so you do start to open up the playbook. You run a reverse with Edmund Gates, but it's called back after that gain of 11 because of a holding penalty. You get a false start penalty, so you're back at your own 5. And here you give it to Reggie Brown, and as he's done most of the year when he gets it, good things happen. He goes for 8 yards here. And then, to me, what may have been one of the biggest plays of the season. Originally 1st and 24, you have it 3rd and 11, and it's Mitchell Gale to Terrell Woodall, a sliding catch in the middle of the field to give you a 1st down.
That was an example. In the first half, we might have just run the ball and tried to punt and play the field position, but we opened it up, and that was a great catch by Terrell. That was a huge, timely catch.
And then, again, keeping that playbook wide open. No receivers in the formation, and you run a flea flicker, pitch it back to Mitchell, and trying to hit the tight end Trey Simeon. It's picked off by Emmanuel Bagley, but the interception's wiped off because Simeon was held.
Yeah, in the first game, on 3rd and short, they just really packed the box, and we thought if we could get Trey out, we might get him on a home run down the middle. But they held, and fortunately the referee saw it, and we got the 1st down.
All right, so the drive continues. 1st and 10 from their 37. It's Mitchell Gale to Kendrick Johnson, who's really come on in the passing game. 13 yards, and then Mitchell Gale to Edmund Gates, 16 yards for a touchdown. And after all of that offensive frustration, you've tied the game.
Yeah, and really credit the O-line. That's what what we saw in the first half, we got protection when we did throw it, and they really stood in there, and Mitchell threw a strike right here. This is a play we've been running all year. We just hadn't had time sometimes, and we got the time there. Great play.
Officially, 11 plays and 81 yards. It was really 95 yards when you got backed up because of the penalties. You force them in a 3-and-out. You come right back, and after a holding penalty, it's 1st and 20, or offensive pass interference, I should say, and it's Reggie Brown right up the gut for 23. And again, it just lifted a big weight off of you from 1st and 20 to 1st and 10.
Yeah, we put ourselves in a hole, but the great thing on this run is it's 13 yards after contact. He just drags a couple of defenders and gets the first down.
After a 3-yard gain, it is Mitchell Gale, seeming like a new player, hitting Kendrick Johnson for a 41-yard touchdown, and your team had the lead 21-14.
Little play action. Midwestern State, it runs so well side to side. They're so fast. So Ken really faked the outside run and got Kendrick coming back across the middle, got him out of position.
Amazing. Kind of like the old days. 3 plays, 57 yards, and boom, you're on the board. You've got the lead after all of that. Morgan Lineberry, touchback, puts them on their own 20-yard line, and then watch Eskridge get sacked for a loss of a couple. More importantly, he loses the football, and ACU falls on it. You recover the turnover.
Well, you see Marvin getting pressure in the middle, and the awesome thing about this play is there's Casey Carr, stripping the ball, had a big interception against Northwest in the first game. Casey plays all our special teams and plays some on defense, and anytime he was in the game Saturday, he made something happen. Great play.
All right, this will not be a field goal heard around the world like Garrett Lindholm, but I thought awkward angle, he's on the left hash, he's supposed to make it, which to me makes it harder. 25 yards to put your team up by 2 scores, Morgan Lineberry, the freshman.
Yeah, Morgan, gained some confidence in the game the week before and just stood in, did a great job on this kick.
Well, they get the ball after an exchange of punts back on their own 2, and Zach Eskridge, proving what kind of player he is, leads them on an 11-play, 98-yard drive, capped off by this touchdown to Andy Tanner. You knew the game wasn't over, but that was impressive.
Well, you knew it wasn't over, but the thing that Sprague hit a 69-yard punt to put them on there too, so you're thinking, can they really drive 98 yards? Well, they did it.
1:06 to play in the game, and it comes down to this. Lee Scott attempting an onside kick, and watch Austin Kessler at the bottom of the pile fall on it, and ACU's got it.
Yeah, we didn't field that very clean. Fortunately, we got it, but that was a great sigh of relief right there. Just run the clock out and get the game.
As we were calling it from the booth, what a moment. The ball was just lying there seemingly forever, and your team falls on it. Coach, just the difference in emotion in that very same locker room from one week to the next.
Well, it was huge. I mean, there was a big release of just having some success instead of the failure we felt the week before. And the guys were really excited in the locker room, but they were excited, but they knew, hey, this is the first step, hopefully in 5 games to play.
All right, so you advance to play Northwest Missouri State, where one Wildcat will see his college football career come full circle. That story when we return. Welcome back to the Chris Thomsen Show. As ACU takes on Northwest Missouri State today in Maryville, Missouri, Trey Simeon, ACU's senior tight end, goes back to the place where his college football career began in 2004. Earlier this week, I had a chance to have a visit with Trey Simeon on the ACU practice field. Trey, at some point, your college football career in the next month is going to come to an end. How amazing is it that your journey, which began in Maryville, Missouri at Northwest Missouri State, is at least at some point going to go back through there?
Yes, sir. I've thought about that ever since I came back here. When Coach T put him on the schedule a couple years ago, I was extremely excited. And in fact, that game I didn't get to play because I was hurt. And I've been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. I'm so excited to go back up there and play.
You haven't been back, right?
I have not been back since 2005, December when I left and moved out. I'm excited to see that and have some memories. And hopefully not end right where I started, but it'll be close to the end within 3 or 4 weeks.
You were there in 2004, redshirted. You played in 2005.
That's right.
That team, see if this rings a bell, that team entered the playoffs as a number 6 seed, played no home playoff games, and yet wound up in the national championship game.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about some of the similarities or differences in that team and this team, which also entered the playoffs at number 6.
It's very similar. I remember sitting in our conference room at Northwest watching the selection show just like we did a week ago here, just hoping to get in. We actually got the 24th seed that year. It was the last seed available, and we were very excited, just like we were here at ACU. And all the pressure is off once you're when you're the last seed and you're away every game, it's not that much pressure. Nobody really expects you to do well. We do expect to do well, but it's kind of I kind of like the underdog role.
Coach told me that after the Tarleton State loss, he told me you came into his office Sunday with something on your heart. What'd you tell him after that game?
Well, you know, we lost 2 in a row, and that never happened in a long time, definitely since I've been here. And it was a point to where I felt like, and so did Coach T, that our team is capable of doing exactly what we're doing now. We just get back and win it. And so we just kind of sat down and said, like, what is causing us to lose? So we went over a few points, just some issues within the team, and said, how can we fix it? What can I do and what can you do, Coach, at practice? What can I do off the field? We worked out a little game plan, and I think that has really shaped our team in a good way. Once again, like, that's a bad thing, losing 2 games, but I'm really glad that that happened. I'm glad we lost 2 games in a row. It changed our whole mindset on the team.
Give me a favorite moment on and off the football field as you look back over the last few years.
Favorite moment, okay. Favorite moment would be beating Kingsville a few weeks ago, and honestly that week of preparation, like I said, we had that talk, and then things changed on the team, and it became fun, exciting out here at practice. Like we came to, it's cliche, we came together, but we really did. It was so fun. And then we came out and it all came together and we beat Kingsville. It was very fulfilling. As far as off the field, my relationship with Coach T is invaluable to me. That's definitely on the top, no question.
Cool. For a longer version of my conversation with Trey Simeon, go to acuoptimist.com. Coach, what has Trey Simeon meant to you personally and to the ACU program?
Well, to our program, he just brought tremendous leadership, especially this year. You know, he played on that offense last year. We had all those seniors, so he provided leadership there. But since all those guys graduated, he's really the guy that stepped up. And but to me personally, he's just a great kid. I mean, I've known him for 6 years now. I've followed his whole college career, even when he went to Northwest Missouri initially. And just, you know, he's just a great person. He's a great leader. He's a great person. He's going to be a great businessman someday, and he's a guy that you've just seen progress steadily as a man, you know, throughout his time here, and we're just so proud of him. He means a lot to us. Graduating
in December here in just about a month. I said in the piece, which we just saw, he's been playing since 2004. The teams he's been a part of have won 60 games in 6 years, and I'm thinking a guy like Jordan Shipley, who's a 6th-year senior, may have a win or 2 more than that. So either Trey Simeon's picking his teams very well, or maybe it's not a coincidence that he's been a part of 2 pretty special programs.
Yeah, I mean, leadership like that is what, to me, you know, I've always referred to the guys like Sam Collins and Billy Malone and Cody Stutz, just Jarrell Badon. You can go down the line, but Trey is definitely, he's in that top 1% of hard work, commitment, focus, strong character, everything that you want in a player, and he's also productive on the field. So, you know, those things go hand in hand. You get people like that in your organization, you got a chance to be successful.
Well, there's another great story involving a player on your team that's emerging this weekend in Maryville, Missouri. Brandon Tripp has that story and a look at the rest of the ACU sports world now in the JMC newsroom.
Thanks, Grant. The ACU volleyball team saw its season come to an unfortunate end last weekend. The Wildcats, despite winning more than 25 games for the 2nd straight season, were again left out of the top 8 in the final South Central Region rankings. ACU reeled off 17 straight wins before losing the LSC championship game to number 6 West Texas. The Wildcats finished the season 29-6. The men and women basketball teams played their opening games this past week. The women dropped a close one to St. Mary's 69-66. Jamie Meyer led the Wildcats in scoring, dropping 22 for ACU. All 5 starters for the Rattlers scored in double figures, and Kristen Williams notched a double-double with 12 points and 12 rebounds to aid St. Mary's in the win. The women will be back in action this weekend in the St. Edwards Invitational. The men opened the season Tuesday night on a high note. Junior transfer Jordan Cole led the Wildcats with 19 points and 12 boards en route to a 116-74 stomp of Baptist Bible College. Ben Wharton, one of the few returning players to the team, pitched in with a double-double of his own, scoring 15 points while grabbing 10 boards. The Wildcats continue their 6-game homestand to open the season when they host Dallas Christian tonight at 5 p.m. in Moody Coliseum. Today in Missouri, the football team faces an opponent it has grown very familiar with over the last 2 seasons. But defensive end Nick Jones will be entering unfamiliar territory. This weekend, Nick will meet his dad for the very first time.
It all started when she typed his name into Facebook, and he had just gotten a profile the week before, I believe, and she saw his picture. She felt like we resembled each other, and she sent him a couple messages, and they kind of their stories matched, and she felt like he was my dad. That's how it all started, really. So I guess I'm just nervous about the first few minutes when we first meet each other. I'm not an emotional person, but I don't I'm sure that's not out of question, me getting emotional. So.
Watch next week's show for more on this unlikely family reunion just in time for Thanksgiving. We'll be back on the Chris Thomsen Show after this. Stay with us.
Let's update the Super Region 4 playoff brackets as we head into week number 2. Obviously, ACU and Northwest Missouri State today in Maryville, Missouri. Coach Central Washington against Tarleton State, a team that beat ACU earlier this year against the #1 team in the nation.
Yeah, Central Washington we saw them on tape earlier against West Texas. Really good football team. A lot of players back from last year's team, and they added a couple of transfers. A kid from Alabama that's a linebacker that's a phenomenal player, and a D lineman from University of Michigan transfer. So they've got a great team, and Tarleton's got a great team. Be interesting to see how that comes out.
What's really interesting is how Tarleton made it into that game, trailing late. Watch Garrett Lindholm, the kicker, got to be a Sunday kicker eventually. Garrett Lindholm, this is from 64 yards at the buzzer, and it's good by a pretty good margin. It sends it into overtime. Both teams score a touchdown and an extra point, and then on 4th and 5 in the second overtime, watch quarterback Scott Grantham against Texas A&M Kingsville. Grantham nearly goes down, stays on his feet, does a little matrix move here, and gets into the end zone, and now trailing by 1 point, don't have to go for 2, but watch Grantham again keep it as Sam McElroy, having seen his defense shredded by the Javelinas, decides to try to win the game right there, and Grantham barely gets in. They go 57-56 over Kingsville in double overtime. Don't know how a team can come back emotionally from that, Coach, but what a win that was.
That's the first time I've seen that. That was an incredible game to hear about, but to see some of those clips, just amazing.
All right, let's take a look at today's game. ACU and Northwest Missouri State. Let's look at the Bearcats by the numbers. It's a team, Coach, you may know as well as any team outside of your conference by now.
In the last couple of years, we've played them more than the teams in our conference. So, just a team that we're familiar with, they're familiar with us. It's become a really good rivalry and one that we're looking forward to going and playing.
The last time the Bearcats lost at home was against your team, 44-27. They returned the favor in the third round of the NCAA Division II playoffs last year, Coach. They defeated your team 45-36, your only loss of the season. What was the biggest difference from Game 1 to Game 2 last year against Northwest?
Probably just the improvement of their defense. I mean, in the first game we scored 44 points up there at Maryville. They had a lot of young guys, especially in their linebacking core, that didn't even travel to the national championship game the year before, plugging a lot of new faces in. And just to see the improvement defensively that they experienced. They already had a great offense, but they really improved defensively and were able to limit us, held us to 36 in the second game, and then their offense got some things going that they didn't get in the first game.
Now, first game this year, 1914 on national television. We all remember an hour delay because of that violent storm that blew through. You've held them this year to their lowest point total, 14 points. That's their lowest by 8. Their next lowest was 22 points. You held them to 230 yards of total offense. It was an amazing effort by your defense, and really, I think, foreshadowing what was to come all season, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. Our defense performed so well in that game. I watched the tape, this week, and they just played so fast and so physical and just did a great job in that game and have pretty much done so all year.
Blake Bowles got his first career start in game number 1 against your team this year, that 1914 loss. He hasn't looked back since that setback. He has been on fire, through for a career-high 421 yards last week. And that offense rolled up 660 or so last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, against Central Missouri, in a game that Central Missouri, had they won, would have made it into the playoffs.
Yeah, Central Missouri is a great team. Typically, those two have, down to the wire games. So that tells you a little bit about where Northwest Missouri is on offense right now, just doing an incredible job. It's kind of the improvement that their defense saw last year. Now it's their offense. Struggled a little bit in game 1, and they've just made continuous improvement all year.
Am I way off base to think that this is a little bit of a role reversal from last year? Your team was the #1 offense in the nation. They had been steadily improving on defense. Now they come in as the #2 offense in the nation at 44.5 points a game, and it's your team that really has the capability to shut down an opponent.
Yeah, and I think as much as their offense has improved, that's obvious on film. I think our defense has improved also, as good as we were in game 1. I mean, guys like Major Colbert, Marvin Jones, Courtney Lane, there's a couple other guys, Mike Jones, all those guys were making their first, they weren't even with us in spring ball. Yeah. So I believe that our defense has improved a lot too, and Kevin Washington, didn't even mention him, but just guys having an understanding of what we're doing on defense, being in better shape, learning where to be. I think we've improved a lot on defense as well.
Is it too trite to say that if your team protects the football, good things will happen? I mean, your team is unbeaten this year when it is even or wins the turnover battle.
Yeah, that's always a critical statistic. Sometimes you can still win if you don't win that, but typically that will dictate the game, and that's important, obviously, for Mitchell to settle in. And we can't go into a shell just to protect the ball. We have to be aggressive. You can't just run the ball on Northwest Missouri. They're not just going to sit there and let you run it all day. You can have some success in the run game to a certain degree, but they're not going to let you line up and just run over them. So you got to throw the football, and we got to throw it on first down some, and Mitchell's got to settle in and play well.
Most important thing that your team has to do today?
Protect the passer. There's so many things you have to do, but they do such a great job rushing the passer. They've got line games and blitzes that are really, really hard, harder than anybody you see. And so this is our 4th time to navigate those and to try to clean those up. And really, I think a lot of it will be determined by how well we protect them.
Coach, play well today. Kickoff at noon. Depending on when you're seeing this, the game may well be underway. For a longer look at some of the stories we brought to you today on the Chris Thomsen Show, go to acuoptimist.com, and you can listen to the broadcast of today's game right here in Abilene in the Big Country on Classic Country 1470. For Coach Chris Thomsen, I'm Grant Boone. Thanks for watching the Chris Thomsen Show, and we'll see you next week.